Good morning, family. Welcome back to the channel. It is another beautiful day today. I'm so thankful and grateful to be here before you in the presence of the Most High to read His Holy Scriptures. I'm happy that you are able to join me today. We're going to pick right back up where we left off at. We left off at Genesis 36. Where we had learned of the genealogy of Esau, who is Edom. And so today we're going to pick back up at Genesis 37. So go ahead and get your pens, your papers, your notebooks, your note cards, your coffee, your water, and let's dive right back into our studies. Okay, Genesis 37. Genesis 37 is going to be talking about the history and the genealogy of Jacob, whose Hebrew name is Yaakov. Genesis 37. And Yaakov dwelt in the land of his father's sojournings, in the land of Canaan. This is the genealogy of Yaakov. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers. And the young man was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought an evil report of them to his fathers. And Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a long robe. So here, Israel, who we know the Most High gave a new name, right, to Jacob, and his new name is Israel. So verse 3 is telling us that Israel loved Joseph more than all his other children, and therefore he made him a long robe. Verse 4, but when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and were not able to speak peaceably to him. And Joseph dreamed a dream and told it to his brothers, so they hated him even more. And he said to them, please listen to this dream which I have dreamed. See, we were binding sheaves in the midst of the field, and see, my sheaf rose up and also stood up. And see, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, shall you indeed reign over us? Shall you indeed rule over us? So they're asking him, is this supposed to be the meaning of your dream? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Verse 9, and he dreamed still yet another dream and related it to his brothers and said, see, I have dreamed another dream. And see, the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to me. And he related to his father and his brothers. And his father rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall we, your mother and I, and your brothers, indeed come to bow down to the earth before you? And his brothers envied him, but his father guarded the word. And his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. Verse 13. And Israel said to Joseph, Are not your brothers feeding in Shechem? Come, I send you to them. So he said to him, here I am. And he said to him, please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the sheep, and bring back word to me. So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. And a certain man found him And see, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What do you seek? And he said, I am seeking my brothers. Please inform me where they are feeding their sheep. And the man said, They have left here, for I heard them say, Let us go towards Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. And they saw him from a distance. And before he came near to them, they plotted against him to kill him. Verse 19. And they said to each other, See, this master of dreams is coming. Now then, come and let us now kill him and throw him into some pit, and shall say, Some wild beast has devoured him. Let us then see what comes of his dreams. But Reuben heard and rescued him from their hands, and said, Let us not take his life. And Reuben said to them, Shed no blood. Throw him into this pit, which is in the wilderness, and do not lay a hand on him, in order to rescue him out of their hands and bring him back to his father. So Reuben is trying to convince his brothers, hey, let's not hurt him. Let's just throw him in a pit and not lay a hand on him. Because Reuben is trying to convince them to do this so that he can actually come back and rescue his brother at a later time out of the pit. Verse 23. So it came to be when Joseph had come to his brothers that they stripped Joseph of his robe, the long robe which was on him. And they took him and threw him into a pit. And the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat a meal. And they lifted their eyes and looked and saw a company of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels, bearing spices and balm and myrrh, going to take them down to Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is Hebrew for Egypt. And Yehudah said to his brothers, What would we gain if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our flesh. And his brothers listened. And Midianite traders passed by. So they pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they took Joseph to Mitzrayim. And Reuben returned to the pit, and see, Joseph was not in the pit. And he tore his garments. And he returned to his brothers and said, The boy is gone, and where am I to go? So they took Joseph's robe, killed a male goat, and dipped the robe into blood, and sent the long robe and brought it to their father, and said, We have found this. Please look, it is the robe of your son, or not? Verse 33, And he recognized it and said, It is my son's robe. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is torn to pieces. And Yaakov tore his garment and put sackcloth on his waist and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted, and said, Now let me go down into the grave to my son in mourning. So his father wept for him. And the Midianites had sold him in Mitzrayim to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and a captain of the guard. Wow. So Joseph, Israel's beloved son, has now been sold to an officer of King Pharaoh in Mitzrayim. And all this happened on account of his brothers, because he shared with them his dreams, and they envied him and spite him. And so they did this to him. Unbelievable. chapter 38. And at that time it came to be that Yahudah left his brothers and turned aside to a man in Adulamite, whose name was Hira. And Yahudah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and went into her. So she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was a Kazib when she bore him. He was at Kazib when she bore him. And Yahudah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Yahudah's firstborn, was evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah took his life. Wow. The Most High saw evil in the eyes of Yahudah's firstborn. And so Yahuwah took his life. And verse 8. And Yahudah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir to your brother. And Onan knew that the offspring would not be his. And it came to be, when he went into his brother's wife, that he spilled on the ground, lest he should give an offspring to his brother. Oh, wow. But what he did displeased Yahuwah, so he took his life too. Oh, wow. Then Yahudah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah is grown. For he said, lest he also die as his brothers did. And Tamar went and dwelled in her father's house. And after a long time, the daughter of Shua, Yahudah's wife, died. And Yahudah was comforted and went up to his sheep shearers in Timnah, he and his friend Hira the Adulamite. Verse 13. And it was reported to Tamar, saying, see, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she took off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil, and wrapping herself, and sat at the entrance of Enaim, which was on the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given to him as a wife. And Yahudah saw her and reckoned her for a whore, for she had covered her face. And he turned aside to her by the way and said, please let me come into you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what do you give me to come into me? And he said, let me send you a young goat from the flock. And she said, do you give me a pledge until you send it? And so he said, what pledge should I give you? And she said, your seal and your cord and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him. Wow. And she arose and went away and removed her veil and put on the garments of her widowhood. Verse 20. And Yahudah sent the young goat by the hand of his friend to the Adulamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he did not find her. And he asked the men of that place, saying, where is the cult prostitute who was beside the way to Enaim? And they said, there was no cult prostitute in this place. And he returned to Yahudah and said, I have not found her. And the men of that place also said that there was no cult prostitute in this place. And Yahudah said, let her take them for herself, lest we become despised, for I sent this young goat, and you have not found her. And it came to be about 3 months after that Yahudah was informed, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has whored, and see, she has conceived by whoring. And Yahudah said, "Bring her out and let her be burned." When she was brought out, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, "By the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant." And she said, "Please examine whose these are, the seal and the cord and the staff." And Yahudah examined and said, "She has been more righteous than I, because I did not give her to Shelah my son, and he never knew her again." And it came to be at that time for giving birth that, see, twins were in her womb. And it came to be when she was giving birth that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took a scarlet thread and bound it on his hand, saying, "This one came out first." And it came to be as he drew back on his hand that, see, his brother came out. And she said, "How did you break through? This breach be upon you." So his name was called Peretz. And afterward his brother came out, who had the scarlet thread on his hand. So his name was called Zerah. Wow. So Tamar, Yahudah's daughter-in-law, deceived him into laying with her, and ultimately conceived twins by him. First, chapter 39. We'll read chapter 39 and then we'll stop here. And so Joseph had been taken down to Mitzrayim, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, a Mizrite, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. And it came to be that Yahuwah was with Joseph, and he became a prosperous man and was in the house of his master, the Mizrite. Wow. And his master saw that Yahuwah was with him, and that Yahuwah made all he did prosper in his hand. So Joseph found favor in his eyes and served him, and he appointed him over his house and gave into his hand all that he had. And it came to be, from the time that he appointed him over his house and all that he had, that Yahuwah baraked the Mitzrite's house for Joseph's sake. And the barakah, the blessing of Yahuwah, was on all that he had in the house and in the field. Beautiful. So here Joseph has been taken into Mitzrayim, right? Egypt, he was purchased, right? For what, 20 pieces of silver to be a slave. Yet, once he gets to Potiphar's house, he finds favor in him because he sees the Spirit of the Most High over Joseph. And therefore, he actually appoints Joseph over his household and allows him to control all of his household, because he sees that Yahuwah makes everything Joseph touch prospers. Verse 6. And he left in Joseph's hand all that he had, and he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. Wow. And Joseph was handsome in form and handsome appearance. And after these events, it came to be that his master's wife lifted up her eyes to Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Look, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has given into my hand all that he has. No one is greater in this house than I, and he has not withheld whatever from me but you, because you are his wife. And how shall I do this great evil and sin against Elohim? And it came to be, as he spoke to Joseph day by day, that he did not listen to her, to lie with her, to be with her. And it came to be on a certain day when Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was inside, that she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. But he left his garment in her hand and fled and ran outside. Excuse me. Verse 13. And it came to be, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and fled outside, that she called to the men of her house and spoke to them, saying, See, he has brought into us an Ibri, which means Hebrew, to mock us. He came in to me, to lie with me, and I cry out with a voice. And it came to be, when he heard that I lifted my voice and cried out, that he left his garment with me and fled and went outside. Wow. And she kept his garment with her until his master came home. And she spoke to him these same words, saying, The Hebrew servant whom you brought to us came into me to mock me. So it came to be, as I lifted up my voice and cried out, that he left his garment with me and fled outside. And it came to be, when his master heard these words which his wife spoke to him, saying, Your servant did to me according to these words, that his that his displeasure burned. Verse 20. Then Joseph's master took him and put him in the prison, a place where the sovereign's prisoners were confined, and he was there in the prison. But Yahuwah was with Joseph and extended kindness to him, and he gave him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. Praise Yah, because we know that woman lied to her husband. Verse 22. And the prison warden gave into the hand of Joseph all the prisoners who were in the prison, and whatever was done there was his doing. And the prison warden did not look into any point that was under Joseph's hand, because Yahuwah was with him. And whatever he did, Yahuwah made it prosper. Beautiful. I know I said we was going to stop at 39, but it makes more sense to go to 40 to continue with the event we're at right now. Chapter 40. And after these events, it came to be that the cupbearer and the baker of the sovereign of Mitzrayim sinned against their master and the sovereign of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh was wroth with his two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker. So he put them in confinement in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison, the place where Joseph was a prisoner. And the captain of the guard put Joseph in charge of them, and he served them. So they were in confinement for some time. Then the cupbearer and the baker of the sovereign of Mitzrayim, who were confined in the prison, dreamed a dream, both of them, each man's dream in one night, and each man's dream with its own interpretation. And Joseph came into them in the morning and looked at them and saw that they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officer, who were with them in confinement of his master's house, saying, Why do you look so sad today? And they said to him, We each have had a dream, and there is no one to interpret it. And Joseph said to them, Do not interpretations belong to Elohim? Relate them to me, please. So the chief cupbearer related his dream to Joseph and said to him, See, in my dream a vine was before me, in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded. Its blossoms shot forth, and its clusters brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. So I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet, within 3 days, Pharaoh is going to lift up your head and restore you to your place. And you shall put Pharaoh's cup in his hand according to the former ruling when you were his cupbearer. Verse 14, but remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me, and mention me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. For truly I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrew, and also I have done naught that they should put me into the dungeon. Meaning I didn't do anything to really deserve to be here, because the woman lied on him. Verse 16, and the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, and he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream and saw 3 white baskets were on my head, and in the uppermost basket all of kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, and the birds ate them out of the basket on my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days Pharaoh is going to lift off your head from you and hang you on a tree, and the birds shall eat your flesh from you. And on the 3rd day, Pharaoh's birthday, it came to be that he made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief cupbearer to his post of cupbearer again, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted to them. Wow. And the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Wow. So we'll stop here for today's study. So here we just read that through the Spirit of the Most High, Yahuwah, Joseph was able to interpret the dreams of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and give them those interpretations, and then the interpretations come to be. Wow. Right? I mean, we started off today to study the genealogy of Yaakov, aka Israel, right? And wow, right away, his sons plotting against Joseph, and then Joseph being sold to a Mitzrite, and then ending up in Pharaoh's household. Wow, so much has taken place, right? So we'll stop here. We're gonna pick back up we left off at chapter 40. We'll pick back up at chapter 41 when we come back. Don't go on without me. Okay, so as always, as you go into your days today, just think about and reflecting on the word and what we've studied today. I know today we learned a lot about the deception that is taking place right now in this time, right? In between the sons of Israel, a lot of deception is taking place. And the Most High says in his word that Satan deceives the whole world. And he truly does. He truly does. So that's why for me personally, when there's a lot of things in this world that I don't agree with because I'm not supposed to, right? Because the Most High's word, he tells me that I am not of this world. I am to set myself apart from this world. And so that's what I do. And so throughout my walk with the Most High and sharing, his word and what it means amongst friends and family and strangers, right? Among us. It can be a battle. It can be a struggle. It's always because there's been so much deception, right? So much deception that has taken place, from the very beginning, right? So much deception within our genealogy, and especially amongst this world, so much deception that it can be a struggle trying to peel back those layers and peel back the layers of that onion of deception, to try to get everyone that I love to see that we have been deceived. We were deceived. Deception is something. It's a spirit. It's a spirit of deception. And as you can see, as we read today, so much deception has taken place. Children were conceived under deception, right? Joseph was sold into slavery under deception. His father, Israel, mourned his death because of deception. This woman, she lied, and Joseph was imprisoned for a very long time because of deception, right? And so that's how deep and how powerful deception is, right? So if deception can cause this, do you not think that Satan can deceive the whole world into doing minor things like celebrating these pagan days and ignoring the feast days that are actually in the Most High's holy scriptures? Do you not think that it's even possible, right? Just think on that, right? And I say that because we are in the pagan season and of the pagan days, right? And they are pagan days because the pagans created them, to celebrate their gods and to celebrate the things that they wanted to celebrate, and so, especially during this season, it really saddens me when I see the world being deceived, especially people that I know who love the Most High and who love his son. And so it saddens me when I see that they are under the deception of Satan with these pagan days. But how is it so hard to see? Because clearly you see the power of deception. Deception is real, right? You have to go to the Most High. You have to seek him. You have to really, really search his word. Search his word for his permission and his authority to participate in the things of this world. Search his word for it. He will tell you what to stay away from. He will tell you what to do and what not to do while you're here in this world, right? Because he tells us to separate ourselves from this world. And he tells us how to do that. He gives us instructions, right? We keep his feasts. We don't keep the feasts of this world, right? And if you're not keeping his feasts, how can you justify keeping the feasts of this world? It just doesn't make sense. It's deception. It's total deception. So yeah, as you go about your day today, turn to the Most High and pray to him for discernment, stronger discernment, right? Because we all fall short. Go to him for stronger discernment. Seek him for that clarity. Confusion is deception. It really is. Like, that's why, the Most High has convicted me to just stay by the word. Stay to what's in the word, Go to the word. If it's not in the word, let it alone. Because this is truly the only thing you can trust. Is his word. So, until the next time we come back for our studies, I pray that you remain in the presence of the Most High and that you continue to seek him and to draw closer to him. Ask him to purify your heart, cleanse your heart, purify your hearts, and love him with your whole heart. Keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. He says that's how we love him. He said, if you love him, you will keep my laws, statutes, and commandments. So that's what we do. That's why we read, so that we can learn them and so that we can know them and that we can keep them. And if you fall short, you repent, which means you take that shortcoming to him. Talk to him about it. You get up, you turn away from it, you move forward. And endure to the end. Okay, so until the next time we reconvene, I pray that your day is as beautiful as our morning has been. As always, it's been a pleasure to sit before you and read with you and talk to you. And please come into the comments and talk to me, right? Because I do read the comments, and I need to hear from you as well. And so I look forward to hearing from you. I love you. And until the next video, I'll see you later. Bye.